Okay, so last class, we were talking about the table of organization, and we sort of introduced the idea of how the purpose of the table of organization is really for edification and for life. And I think we may have drawn like a little matrix up there that I kind of want to improve upon tonight and talk about that somewhat. So we gave this definition that the table of organization, it's a system of accountability and responsibility. And the purpose of it is to give people within the organization freedom to contribute to the goals of the organization in safety, effectiveness, and in harmony with the rest of the organization. And I asked you to have that definition and be able to, which I hate to put it that way, I do want you to know it, I do want you to memorize it, but I want you to sort of be meditating on it and thinking about it. I don't want you to, in a sense, I don't want you to have to memorize it. I want you to think about it so it makes sense to you. So, but I know there's a balance to that. But the purpose of it, and we can contrast that again. I know normally we sort of draw it sort of like this hierarchical tree. And although it does provide a way that the leadership can send down the line things it wants to see happen, we really think about it a little bit differently, especially in a church. But even out in in the industry, in terms of management literature and organizational, teaching out there, these principles are really known. And the way I think about it is the church should really be leading, and whether we are or not is not. But we should be out ahead of people, showing people how to live. And this country, the United States, has really come out of maybe like the industrial age when, Henry Ford was putting together his assembly lines, and people were really just, this is your job, and you're like a cog in a machine, and you just do this way, and then they would send in efficiency experts, and if you do it this way, we can cut, 3.2 seconds out of this thing. And so people really, that was all they did. And, we found that dehumanized people. But I think I could go beyond that and say that type of point of view of like how you view your employees, although sometimes it's necessary and there's a place for it, what it really does is it takes away from the value of that individual and what that individual may have to contribute to the organization. Like, the way we think about it is the guy that's doing the job, maybe he knows more about that job than the guy who is above him. So that person in the organization has great value. And so we really want our organizational structure to be a place that values people, that takes into account what they have to offer and gives them a place of safety in life so they can function effectively. And we're going to go to some Bible verses on that in a moment. But that's how we want to view that, think about that organizational tree. And we could really, and we said this last week, but just to say it again, if I can get my stylus out here. There we go. We could really draw an organizational chart, kind of draw it this way, with the foundation at the bottom. And of course, in an organization, in the church, that might be the pastor and the leadership. And then it kind of goes up from there, where the pastor is really bearing the weight of the organization. And if someone up here is having a problem, okay, well, he's going to take that problem and he's going to throw it on the shoulders of this individual here. And if that person cannot bear the weight of that problem that he's been given, then he's going to throw it down to his head or his covering. And I know that we've heard this term, servant leader. Anybody ever heard that term? It's been talked about. I like the term, and I don't like it. I think it's a very good term in the sense that, yeah, it communicates something. What I don't like sometimes is just the movements that it can come out of, where people think that they can just apply these principles without the life behind it, and that somehow just do this thing and things will work. But it's a useful tool. So that's how we're thinking about this org chart. I know normally we hold, I guess I could, no, if I turn this upside down, nothing happens up there, right? Okay, forget that. It all stays the same. But you know what I'm saying? We normally draw it the other way, and there's reasons for that also in terms of a flow of definition. It can go that way. But it's not like I have a table of organization so that I can tell people what to do, although sometimes that will happen. But I want to go down to the next. So we saw that last week. And then, there we go. Now I got a new one. And I kind of drew the matrix last week. And I was just meditating on that today. Last week I kind of went into it like with a little bit of, let me just move on from there. I thought about it today, and I want to just change that a little bit. And we're going to call this basic human need. Okay? And I had 3 points on this. I've added a fourth, just in considering it today, that I think will be helpful to you. And I want you to understand this and be able to think about it. And I hope you think about it enough, not so that you have to memorize it, but so that it makes sense to you. Okay? So that you could, because it should make sense to us, because everybody in this room is a basic human being, and you have basic human needs. All right? And we talked about we have a need for love, okay? And we have a need for, I think, what I called nourishment. Okay? We got to eat, right? We have a need for purpose. Okay? And another word we could use there, purpose or vision. Okay, I need to be part of something bigger than myself. And I think everyone is born with that, and we're rightly born with that because we know who we're not, at least when we may not know who we are, but we know who we're not. We know that we need things around us. And then the final need that we talked about was maybe security or safety. You know, so we could use either of those words there. And we know that as believers, like we think about these things all the time, and that we go, like every day, you and I face these issues, just as men and women, as people, we face these issues. And like the turbulence in our life, lots of times it's really, okay, let's get back to the real source of, you know, where am I really going to have these needs met, you know? Where am I looking for love? Where am I finding my food? Where am I getting my vision from? You know, where am I getting my security from? And the Bible has answers for all of these things. But then, of course, on earth, there can be like eternal security, but there also is like earthly security too, right? Like my house, I've got locks on my doors. I've got the doorknob, and then I've got deadbolts also. Okay, and we pretty much have those deadbolts locked all the time. I've got motion detector lights around my house, so if you walk into my yard, you know, they come on, and I lock my car at night, and I take my keys inside. You know, that's what I do. I have a need for security, and I don't want to run the risk of having something bad happen because I don't take these steps. Now, my parents, they live out in a sort of not a country area, but certainly not a city area. And my dad leaves his keys in the car. He does, you know. I know right where they are. And I think that we even, maybe if they leave for the weekend, they might lock the door, but there is no deadbolt on their door. And I know when they go downtown to shop or to go to the post office, I mean, the door is unlocked. Different situation, the security need is totally different. They don't need to take those steps. So I'm saying there's a human part of life also that you can't, like Pastor Schaller's diagram in service Sunday morning. I wasn't there, but I was just listening to the message. You've got the first floor, which is sort of our natural life. You've got the second floor, which is our spiritual life. We live in both of those places. So I'm really talking about the spiritual life here, but there's correspondence between those spiritual needs and our physical needs. But we speak in these terms when we're speaking spiritually and biblically and scripturally, and that's really where we live and where we think about it. But I think that when you come into like an organization, okay, you move out of like the organism and you move into an organization, which is really what this course is about, those needs, kind of like those eternal needs that we have that are met in Christ, those needs we carry right into a place we're working, whether we're working in a business or whether we're serving in a church or whether we have families that we're administrating. Are you married? You have children? One child. Okay, so a wife and child. Richard Shepard, you've got a few children. Pastor Javid. Yeah, easy. So some of us are married, some of us are not. So I'm saying your family, the point I'm making is that your family is an organization also with unique characteristics. Like you can't fire your children if they're not performing properly. You are stuck with them. But these same principles you can carry into your home because it's an organization, all right? So just where we're going with this is this should sort of be, I'm just going to draw maybe the matrix like this, okay? So this would sort of be on the, I don't know what the right word here, sort of the spiritual side. But over on the organizational side, there's the same needs are there, but we might sometimes use different terminology, but it's really corresponding to the same need. And I've worked on this, and there may be other people out there that do a better job with this, and if you run into it, let me know. But I think that does God love me? In the organization, do these people even want me here? Do they love me? Do they want me here? Okay? Do they like me? You know what I'm saying? That's what my wife says to me sometimes. I know you love me, but do you like me? You know what I'm saying? They don't want it just to be an impersonal love, but she wants there to be a relationship there. You know? Nourishment. What would that be in an organization? That would be like, am I receiving like the information I need in order to be effective? Like, do I know how to do my job? Have I been shown? Have I been trained? So we might call that like instruction, okay? And maybe there's other words you could put there. Instruction, training, which can take all sorts of different forms. And then purpose or vision, very, very similar over on the organizational side. Do I know what's the vision of the organization? What are its goals? Okay? So we might call like this the administrational or the organizational side. And then as far as security goes, it's like, am I safe? I think I talked about policy last week. So is there a structure, which might be the org chart or organizational, layout there, table, or is there policy that protects me, okay? That tells me who I am, maybe not so much who I am, but what I can do, what I can't do. It's almost like a rule of law. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm very glad that, I've had maybe one break into my house over the 10 years, 12 years I lived in Baltimore City. Well, like the police came. They were there in 5 minutes. I'm saying that we didn't catch the guy, but they were like very interested. And I'm glad that exists, And it's the same thing in an organization, okay? I mean, I'm doing this. I know it's right. How come he's not doing it, So there's policy. And we're going to talk a lot more about policies. But these things are like very, very necessary. And if you want to work not if you want, you and I, we want to work and we want to function in places where this is happening, where this is going on, okay? And we don't want to work or function in places where this is not happening. Now, on earth, life on earth is not perfect, right? It's imperfect. Men are imperfect. This never happens perfectly on earth, okay? But there's times when, and sometimes we're forced because I need money to go and take a job somewhere where things are imperfect, you know. But we also, as we grow and we become more confident, I mean, at least when I started out in the workplace, I took a job and I was very afraid because I didn't know if I'd ever find another one. You know what I'm saying? Is this like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what my value is, I can't believe these people hired me. And it's like, I'm just very glad that I show up and they let me through the door and they write me a paycheck every week. This is like amazing, you know? But as you go on and you grow in life, I think the older you get, a couple things happen. Number one, you find what you're good at and what works for you and what you shouldn't be doing. And you also learn like what your own convictions are, like what am I willing to put up with, and what situations are just not going to work for me, and I'm not going to put myself into that situation, right? And I think that can happen in the church also. You know, we grow and we find out, and I don't want to take away from flexibility and God putting us in uncomfortable situations. I understand that, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, I started off, you know, when I was a teenager, you know, really working in restaurants. I don't know what, who has ever worked in a restaurant, okay? You have overseas? Where'd you work? In Hungary somewhere? What's it like in a Hungarian restaurant? Do the chefs yell?
I don't know, like we were doing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, microphone, please.
It was like a fast food restaurant, so we did all the food.
Okay.
So it was not like, it was like McDonald's.
Right, okay, so a little different. I was more like in a fine food restaurant where you got the chef behind the line. And do you have some restaurant background? I do. Tell me about it. Yeah, sorry, give Mr. Shepard the microphone there.
I was a cook, and I didn't yell.
You didn't yell?
No, I didn't.
Were you the chef, though? Were you in charge of the kitchen?
Yeah, when I was on shift, yes.
Okay. Were you ever under somebody else who did yell?
No. Actually.
Okay, so you worked in an unusual restaurant, or maybe I just worked in a bad place. That was a good place, you know. And I worked in a few of them, but the first place I worked, it was just one of these high pressure things, you know, where the chef is yelling and swearing. Yes, sir.
I've worked in a couple of catering jobs in different companies, and yeah, I can agree with that. There's a lot of people that like yell at you because with catering, you're not just serving like one meal at a time.
Right.
You're serving like 500 to 250 meals, and you might get a surprise order of like, oh, hey, we need to feed a few hundred more people. Can you do that? It's
Right.
Like, oh,
Yeah. Right. So high pressure
So, yes.
situations, I understand that, but it's just so these. You know, all I'm saying is that there's these things are like important. They apply wherever you are for the rest of your life. You'll be running into these things, but I'm just sort of, in a sense, in some sense, we know all this stuff. Everything I'm saying up here is in your head somewhere because you live it day in and day out. But we're trying to make it like objective and obvious and sort of maybe a little bit categorized so that you can be aware of these things because you are going to be involved in organizations, and that's what we're teaching you in this course, you know. So now, what I said last week is that let's just go over these things. So you've got, like, you know, do they love me? Do they want me around? Do they like me? You know what I'm saying? Am I being trained? Am I being given the information and knowledge I need to do my job? Do I know what the goals of the organization are? Like, why are we doing this? How do I fit in? You know, am I providing a dining experience? You know, world-class dining experience, or am I, you know, wiping off glasses? You know, what I'm saying that how we think about that makes a huge difference. And am I safe here? All these things, like these things, all come together. Or at least they all come to me through communication, okay? Someone must come to me and communicate these things to me. Okay? And I know that sounds like, okay, what's so profound about that? What's profound about it is when it's not happening, or when it's not happening the wrong way, and this is why people across the world are unhappy in their jobs. This is why people can be unhappy working in great churches, because these specific things are not happening. They are not hearing what they need to be hearing in order to know and be thinking the way they need to be thinking about their daily lives, so they can be a success and so they can be happy. Okay? So what we talked about last week is that these things can all be, that we're talking about, can all be communicated through meetings. All right? Now, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about meetings. But before we do that, we got some good comments about some of your experiences there. Let me just silence my phone here. Sorry about that, everybody. That's me. Yeah, okay. No, I'm not listening right now. Okay, hopefully that won't happen again. Any comments, questions about this right here? It's an upgrade, new and improved, yeah. We had 3 points last week. I think I added a fourth today. And yeah, so you can just modify you don't have to learn two matrices, just learn the one. Okay, but I want you really to be thinking about this and aware of it. Okay, now, I had asked you to do some homework last week. There were two homeworks. One was the going over our bylaws, and suggesting improvements to our bylaws. You're going to email those to me. I don't want to talk about those tonight. I also asked you all to write briefly, maybe spend 20 minutes or a half an hour, just writing about like the last job, what you hated about your last job, okay? Now, how many people have that available tonight? Okay, Chad does. We got some hands. Okay, so a lot of people do here, okay? Now, maybe we'll just take some random people. And I want to hear from Amanda, because you never say anything in this class. So why don't you pull out that, whatever you have there, and tell us about what you hated about your job, okay?
Okay, so the example I'm using comes from my current job working for...
Which will leave unnamed. No, do not name the employer.
I'm not.
No, don't name the employer.
Okay.
That goes around the world.
From an unknown employer.
Yeah, especially if it's a body member. I could never do that, but go ahead.
Okay. It's in an assignment that has ended, so I'm using it as an example,
Okay.
even though it's my current job. For a number of months, I was asked to arrange meetings with clients in hopes that they would provide required documentation to our office. The clients were fully aware of the fact that if they did not provide the documentation at our meeting, I would proceed to terminate their assistance in our program. Oftentimes, the information requested was very simple and easy to provide. I was asked to do this in an effort to raise our utilization rate
Okay?
because we get a lot of funding.
Yep.
So, about 80% of the clients I met with not only showed up to the meeting without anything,
Okay.
but they were actually mad at me
Okay?
because they thought it was ridiculous that they had to provide it, or they said they did provide it, but they were actually not telling the truth.
Okay.
So I had to do that for 5 months, and it was very frustrating.
Okay. Very good. Let's have a hand for Amanda, that she has had that job, lasted 5 months, and is still a Bible college student. You did not quit in spite of that. Okay. Send the mic, actually, send the mic for, there's some other hands over there. Who other's hands was up down there? This is very healthy, isn't it? We're going to get it all out tonight, You've been waiting to say this. Go ahead.
This is about my present job too, and I'm actually in a union. And after working in the union, you see the flaws in it. And one thing that I really dislike about it is there's no incentive in a union, because every 2 or 3 or 4 years you write a contract with your union representatives, and then they support you. And what it is in this contract are scheduled raises, scheduled holidays, scheduled days off of work, scheduled sick time, scheduled vacation time that you earn just the same as everybody else. Like, no matter if the guy next to me sits in a closet all day and sleeps and I work my butt off, or if I sit in the closet all day and sleep and the guy next to me works his butt off, every single person gets the same thing, despite of how hard I work. So that really brings the incentive way down because it's like, you know, that guy's not doing anything, I'm not going to do anything. So then what they actually end up doing is, well, we have a building that only needs 2 people working in it, like in reality. So let's hire 10 guys because the level is so low and they just waste so much time, so much money, so much effort because they're just not willing to stay on top of the people.
Right. Okay. Very good. Let's give Mr. Sutton a hand. All right. Now, maybe we'll head over in this direction. Was your hand up, Wesley? Oh, I know. Can we hand you the microphone? And we want to hear from this job about this job you didn't like.
I can't say all of these problems. You can imagine.
Too many problems to
Yeah.
talk about. Okay.
Yeah. In Kyrgyzstan, it's like a third world country, I can say, and there is like, I don't know how about the place of corruption. I heard like first or second, like in the corruption, you know, maybe after, I don't know, like maybe, but it's everywhere in these countries, I think. I was working for telephone company. It's a monopolist in our country, and it's a very rich country. It's like they have this value papers they sell to different people, and it's company. There is no competition with this company. It's like a sell to all these nations, you know.
Right.
These cell phones, and when you work there, you can see like that boss, local boss, he is working for his own pocket, you know, and organization working like with his like to fulfill his pocket, you know, and he is stealing from this organization because it's a rich organization, like,
Right.
you know, like it has a lot amount of money, you know, like they gather from the population this money, like, and it's crazy, I can say.
Right.
Like you are working, and he's appreciate to people who just take bribes from people and sell these telephones and just give give to the boss. And of course, I'm like a Christian. I can't do this,
Right.
you know, like
Right.
with these bribes, and I can't be involved. And that's why I was in black, like.
Right.
in his mind, I was like a black, I don't know, raven.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why like I'm just like was in confusion and pressure all the time, you know.
Right.
Like I was doing like I think that's the job that I need to do, you know, like for company,
Right.
and they just work for like for themselves and for company, like, you know, more for themselves, because like actually they don't care about company, like, and they don't care about like organization even, you know.
Right.
If it's like they have interest,
Right.
they will do it, you know. If they don't, they will like find like something, another way to do, like same job, you know. It's kind of like, I could say Kyrgyzstan maybe number first in corruption.
In the world.
Yeah.
World-class corruption.
For me, yeah. For me especially.
Can I send the microphone up to Chad here, okay? And Chad, I was just wondering, so we got Amanda dealing with her clients, and we got Grant dealing with his union job, Kanat dealing with his Kyrgyzstan Telecom, whatever the name of that company is. And I'm just wondering if maybe you could try and maybe, I don't know, generalize is the best word, but what was it about these different, maybe they're the same, maybe they're different, why were these people unhappy with their jobs? You don't twist it to fit, you know, the class. Just
No, I think I got it. I think
yeah,
all three of them are pretty much communication issues. things are not communicated well with Amanda's clients. They're not being held accountable. Well, they sort of are if they're discontinuing their service with them, but in the union jobs, which Grant works at, I'm familiar with that too. It's like nobody wants to take responsibility there, and pretty much the same thing with the phone company.
Right.
It's just communication and deception and
Yeah.
things like that. It's
Anybody else want to add to what Chad's saying here? Okay, Lisa. We're going to do the microphone over here.
I believe the problem is a structure and policy problem, because in one place they don't want to make any proper decisions.
Right.
In another place, actually in all three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and just me, I'm just thinking about it right now. I thought those were, actually, I don't need that microphone, but just for me to think about it, just from what I heard, Amanda was dissatisfied with her job because she was in an ongoing conflict with these clients, right? And really, there was some pressure on you, but if these people don't come in with their paperwork, you can't qualify them and the funding doesn't come in, right? I mean, isn't that part of the problem too?
The funding wasn't really the problem.
Oh, okay.
The funding wasn't really the problem. It was that the clients weren't submitting the required documentation.
Okay.
And I was giving them a third opportunity to submit it.
Right.
So they had ample
Right.
time to provide
Right.
everything, but they didn't do it.
But they show up,
Yeah, but they
Probably
showed up
because
to
they have to.
argue.
Yeah,
to
to
argue with
argue.
me. Yeah.
and then, so that's like, you're in an ongoing conflict with the people coming in. You know what I'm saying? So let's just park on that one for a second there, and we're going to spend a few minutes. Let's send the microphone up to Angina here, okay? And I'm not saying there's solutions to this, but I just want to think about this. So you're Amanda's supervisor. She comes to you and says, I hate my job. People come in and all they do is argue with me. What would you do about that? And I don't know if there's an answer, but just what could be done?
I don't know. If they have to provide something in order to receive something, it seems like they don't get what it is they're looking to get, and either they comply or they have to return home empty-handed.
Right.
So I mean, there's obviously more to the puzzle that I
Right.
don't
Yeah, sure.
understand. So I'm not sure how I would address it. If her job is to just simply smile and accept
Right.
paperwork, then unfortunately that's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you have to, I don't know, maybe have some kind of release in the break room where you can just get away
Right.
from that kind of nonsense for a few
Yeah.
minutes and regain your composure, and then
Yeah.
go back out and smile and
But maybe
deal with that.
was that a temp job? But how come the assignment ended then?
Oh, I thought you meant something. Yeah, it was really kind of an experiment to see if it would work. But it
Oh,
went
I
on
see.
for 5 months, and then I brought the totals to my supervisor. I said,
Okay.
this really isn't working.
Experiment failed.
Yeah, but I had to do it for 5 months.
So you guys ended the job.
So it did end eventually.
Well, I give the company some credit then. They gave it a shot. It didn't work, and they ended it. Was your hand up over there?
I have like a really good example. Like where we work, some things that we're told to do is purely idiotic. Like there's like a ledge, a sidewalk, and then a sidewalk down, and we got that big snowstorm, and we had to shovel the snow from one sidewalk down onto the other one, and then shovel that snow off into the street, when we only needed to actually clear only one sidewalk. So it's like our boss comes and is like, yeah, just clean it, like no problem. Oh yeah, like I'm breaking my back, like literally breaking my back,
Right.
like just
Yeah.
to clear both sidewalks, and we only need one cleared. And like, okay, like you're the
Yeah.
boss. Like
Right.
I do what you tell me to do.
Right.
You sign my paychecks. You've been here before. presumably, like you've been in my shoes, and
Right.
but you're where you are now because of your hard work. So, like, yes, I will do that job, even though it's a pain in my butt.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
But that's why I'm where I am.
Because I'm thinking, Chad, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking I'm hearing personally more than a communication problem. You know what I'm saying? I think it's, and again, we can talk about it, but like going over to Kanat, I think the communication was very clear. Go steal from our customers, right? Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that your conscience would not allow you to do, you know? And was there really any venues in the situation you were in? I mean, you got to eat, the whole country's corrupt, I don't know. And this is just, I mean, unfortunately, I work with, I've got Yulia in my office. She used to live in, Azerbaijan under the, when it was a Soviet republic or whatever it was. And what she's telling me is just, if you want to live, you lie. That's just life. And unfortunately, whole societies are built on lies, And I don't say that against any specific country. But, you can just have corrupt situations, and either God deliver me, or I just have to forget. I just have to do what I have to do to survive. And I got to put blinders on to everything going on around me, just so I can live. And God may put you as believers in one of those situations. But I'm going to make a point here, and then we're going to close this part of the class. Here's the point I want to make, is that we got three spirit... Were you a believer at the time? Okay, so I got three spirit-filled believers, right? Kanat, Amanda, and Grant, all right? The Holy Spirit's living inside of them. They are walking with God. And yet they're in situations that are making them unhappy, that there's something wrong with those situations. And I'm telling you, it is not wrong as a believer to know there is something wrong with the situation that you are in. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It is not wrong for you to know there's something wrong with the situation that you are in, even if you are working or functioning in a church. Sometimes things can be wrong in a church. You may be asked to do something that your conscience will not let you do, okay? You might have a job that's very unsatisfying, right? We're trying it this way and it ain't working. Or you may be in a situation where there's no justice, right? Someone next to you has one deal, you have a different deal, and it bothers your conscience that things are that way, And I know sometimes God can allow that. He might allow it for a week or a month or for 10 years. But this course is not about that, okay? I mean, we know that. This course is about doing what we can in organizations to make things better, okay? Not to assume it's this way because God wants it that way and I just have to live with it, okay? And that can happen to you if you're like down somewhere in the organization with people over you, or you're up here in the organization and people under you are working and serving and they are not happy. So we want to create an organization where if I'm down and have a little job somewhere and it's not going well, there is a venue for me to communicate up and to make things better somehow. Or if I'm at the top of the organization, I want to create an organization where people underneath have some venue for communicating upward so I can hear what they have to say and solve their problems as much as I can. Right? Some problems are put there by God. You can't do anything about them. Okay? But this is how I think about it. Like, I've got, Taya works in the finance office. If Taya comes to me with something that is bothering her or there is a problem in the office, my last resort, okay, is that she has a spiritual problem with God. That is the very last thing I will go to. Now, I suppose in some unusual situation, God might give me some discernment or something. I understand that could happen. But I'm always going to treat what she has to say as legitimate, and I'm going to treat her as a person who wants to do well, cares about the office, is on board, wants to make things better, and is bringing this information to me to give me an opportunity to improve it and to make her life and those around her better. Okay? That's how we always want to be thinking. Okay? Not like you have a spiritual problem with God. Okay? So this is like, we're going to talk about this theme again and again and again, but This is what we want to put out there today. And we, how do I say this? We have been taught amazingly, and I'm very, very happy with the teaching that I have received from Pastor Stevens, Pastor Schaller. I teach it, it's part of me. I teach this way, is that we don't want to be communicating negatively. We don't want to be talking. We want to be believing the best in all those things. If I'm not getting along with someone working alongside me, okay, what spiritually can I pray? Can I minister? What do I do? I'm for all of that. And so this course requires a certain measure of maturity in terms of our thought process, and we're going to talk about some of those specifics later on this evening. But this is like a huge message I want to get to you. Grant is not wrong for what he said, okay? And then the second thing, because we want to create organizations where people are allowed to talk and have freedom of expression, that's why we have a microphone we hand around this classroom also, okay? I'm trying to show you, how we want you managing and administrating. It's not the only way, but we want to open your eyes up to that. So it's 7:53, and I think we'll start up again at 8:11, okay? So we'll take a break here, and we'll come back at 8:11. 6:53, thank you, and 7:11 we'll come back. Thank you very much, okay? 7:11. See, I can't yet even. How's that? 7:11. Oh, Andy, I'm sorry. We'll call it when we come back. Hold that thought, okay?